Well, hi again. Welcome to Distance Kitchen. I think this is number 4. Today, I've been thinking about doing soups. So soup's great comfort food. I think everybody knows that. And they're fairly easy to make. So we're going to show you 3 of them. Actually, 2 soups and a chili. So we're going to do corn chowder, Southwestern style. We're going to do a chili con carne, and we're going to do minestrone soup. So hopefully we can pull all that off in half an hour. So we're going to start, all 3 of these have sautés. In other words, we start by frying in a little bit of olive oil. So we'll start by doing the sauté for the chili. So a little olive oil action. So the sauté is not the same thing as frying, right? So frying has got a lot more oil involved and it's not necessarily as healthy for you. So we're going to sauté onions and garlic, because honestly everything goes better with garlic. And we'll have this particular chili is going to be made with meat. This recipe, to the extent that it is a recipe, can be made without meat, right? Typically I'll make it with beef, sometimes beef and pork. Today I'm going to make it with ground turkey because that's what I had on hand. So our theme is like, what have you got on hand that you could use? So first we'll saute onions and garlic, then we're going to throw the turkey in and let that cook for a little while. I've got back here some beans that I boiled. So these are pinto beans, about a pound of pinto beans that I boiled. It takes a couple hours to do that. You can certainly use canned beans if you want. I think you'll find that it tastes better with dried beans, and you can keep dried beans on hand all the time whenever you run into a situation like this where we can't go out all the time. So, all right, so we've got the oil hot. You always make your hot oil a little bit before you start. I like to toast up the garlic a little bit. So how much? Well, whatever you think. I'm kind of a garlic heavy guy, but you can do what you want. I've got a browning right there, so hang on, Warner. We're going to add some of the onions in, chopped onion. Give that a stir. I wouldn't want to brown it any more than that, but that'll be okay. So we'll let these cook for a little while before we add the meat. So meanwhile, back at the ranch, we'll get a start on the corn chowder. So this is a vegetarian corn chowder. You can certainly put ham or bacon in it if you want, or seafood even. But I'm also going to make it in the Southwestern style, which I kind of like. So again, it starts with a saute. So while the pot's heating up, I'll give you an idea of how I take. I'll remind you, because I did show before, a good way to cut up an onion, right? So here's your onion. Cut it off, either side off like that. This goes in the compost. Cut her in half. Peel off the side. So if you're doing a bunch of them, do them all at once. It's more efficient. And now you've got this. So you can do for onion soup, you'll cut this way, right? For other things, you might cut this way. But for dice, we're going to cut right up to about the end of it there. See how the tip goes almost to the end? And then across, and then dice it in. Okay, I'm getting a message from my pan behind me that it's getting kind of hot. And indeed it is. So we'll go in again with the garlic. Okay. I'll wait less time to add the onions this time because I don't want to brown this too much. It's going to be a white sauce in the end. So stir that up a little bit. And then I'm going to add a few more onions. We've got onions in each of these dishes, so that's why we've got that going. So when you're making a soup, you want to think about which items you want to saute and which items you want to boil, right? When to put them in, right? So harder things, when you're boiling, you put it in first, right, rather than later, right? So saute, I like to saute for this dish. I like to also saute peppers as well as the onions in it. So I'll have to cook for a minute. I'll put those in. Meanwhile, we're going to talk about jalapenos. So a jalapeno pepper, I've got some cut up, but I want to show you how I cut those. Cut off the end of it, right, in the compost. That way, grab yourself a little teaspoon. So peppers vary a lot, I've noticed, especially since I've moved to Indiana. It seems to me that some places, sometimes they're hotter than others. So I should probably, I don't think this one's that hot, so I'll taste it. Oh man, I am so wrong. So, woo! Just a little bit more. Oh my gosh. So when I buy them at Kroger, which is our big supermarket, they're a little bit spicier than bell peppers, but when I get them at El Chowder, which is our Mexican restaurant market, they are pretty hot. So that one's hot. I don't need to use that many of them to the roll. So once again, proving why it is you need a chef to taste it. So we're going to go back quickly to our chili. This is our ground turkey. We put it in because we've got the onions pretty well cooked up. And then so this will saute for another few minutes. Slow it down a little bit. This is our chowder pot. Into our chowder pot, we're going to put in the peppers. Most of them we're going to save a few for the third soup. And the onions are in there already. We put in some jalapenos. I don't think I'll put them all in because I think we just discovered what the problem was there. All right. And you know what? We'll put them in here because they're chilies. Always inventing things. So the third soup is going to be minestrone. All right. So the great thing about minestrone, I've learned this from Italian people that I've talked to, is minestrone is basically a soup that you can use to use stuff up, right? You cook that to use stuff up. So I went around in my kitchen and figured out, what I got a lot of, because I'm not going to the store as much as I like to go to the store like every day, literally, but I can't do that anymore. It's not safe. You got a distance, so I'm like down to like every 10 days now. So I went around, found everything I had. And then I'm going to make it I'm going to turn it into minestrone soup. So again, we're going to start with the onions, but we've got, if you want to keep anything on hand, onions and garlic, can't go wrong with that. So I'm going to do onions, I'm going to do celery, I'm going to do some more bell peppers, I'm going to do some carrots, I'm going to do some cabbage, and some asparagus that I happen to have on hand, right? So we're going to so of these things, the things that I think I'll saute are the onions, the garlic, the peppers, and the asparagus. And the celery, why not? And then the carrots and the cabbage, and I also have kale. The kale will go in towards the end. So I've got our oil hot there. Once again, start with copious amount of garlic. Keep everything stirred here. Looking good. That's nice colors in that chowder. So I'm ready to go with what's left of our onions here. Minestrone, we're just using it up. Our celery, which I cut up. The peppers, which we had before, cut up. All right, it's all going in there. And then I've got some asparagus. So here's your lesson on asparagus. A lot of you may know this, but asparagus comes like this, right? Take it like this and break it. This part down here is fibrous. You could actually use this part if you cook it up and puree it and strain it. You could use it for a soup. But other than that, it's really not useful. So that goes into the compost. You all get rid of all the bottoms, and then we're just going to dice it up quickly and then throw it in with the rest of the saute. So far, so good. All right. So let's give this a chop crossways. All right. So asparagus, it tends to have a certain effect on your system. I've never really understood why this is, but this is PG rated, so I'm not going to ask the question of why it turns something a different color. But I've often wondered that. I don't have a good scientific answer to the question. So we're going to put the asparagus in with the rest of the saute for the minestrone. Stir. Alright. Get our beef, our chicken, pardon me, our turkey going here for the turkey chili and our chowder here. So everything is cooked, as we say, it's cooking the gas heat. Cooking the gas heat. So let me take just a minute here to talk about my philosophy about cooking versus baking. So baking is a science. You have to be very precise about baking. I'm not very good at science. All right, I teach history, so I try hard. But honestly, baking is a challenge for me because you can't go a little of this, a little of that. You got to stick to the recipe. You notice I haven't given you hardly any recipes in all these talks because I want to talk about how you cook, right? And so there's something called food sense that we learned about in the restaurant business. I like to think of it as food wisdom. How is it that you learn how foods work together or don't work together? And that honestly only is going to come with time and for watching YouTube videos like this perhaps. But that's what cooking is about, right? Is understanding what works together and what doesn't work. It also means you probably have a lot of failures along the way. So we're going to add some liquid now to a couple of these soups. So I always have a little water on hand when I'm cooking. So I'm going to add a little bit of water to this saute and a little bit to this one. This one, we need to get this one up to a boil because we're going to add some potatoes to it. We'll see if that one finishes before a half hour's out. I don't know. And then this one, almost done. The beans will go in later. So besides water, we're actually going to make stock. So this could be a vegetarian soup. It's not going to be today, but it could be a vegetarian soup. It could be a soup with meat in it. There are lots of possibilities. But I like to use chicken stock to be able to make this soup. I didn't have a lot of chicken stock, so I made some. A little bit here. All right, so we're going to add that to the minestrone. How did I make the chicken stock? All right, so that's artificially made chicken stock, and I made it with this beef base, or chicken base, pardon me, right? So you can get this as powdered. I don't like to use a lot of this because it has kind of an artificial flavor. Well, because there's artificial ingredients in it. But it's one of those things that everybody likes to take the flavor of it. Often it's made with MSG, which is not so cool all the time. But it's good to have on hand in case you need it. I did actually make a chicken stock the other day, cooking off some chicken that I needed to cook off because I noticed it was on hand. And so this is all the stock I get, which is why I had to plan it a little bit. So what's really cool about this, when you make your own stock, there's if you chill it, no matter what kind of meat stock it is, the fat will rise to the top, right? So I see that layer of yellow at the top is fat. You can just go through and take that off. If you're interested in stocks, we're planning on doing a session on making stocks themselves, so keep your eye out for that. So a little bit's not going to hurt you, a little bit of flavor. So that'll go right into this one also. Off that goes. And this will be the lid because it's cold. All right. That's done. So you want to add the potatoes now that their water's getting a little hot here. So this goes into chowder. Probably need a little more water. So I like to use red potatoes, which is why I had them on hand. And I don't like to peel them. You definitely get more nutrition if you don't peel things. That's kind of a basic rule of nutrition. So also in the minestrone soup, I'm going to put carrots, which I can add now. This stock. And then I'm going to put, also going to put cabbage and kale. So these things don't take that long to cook, right? So I don't need to put those in just yet. But I will while we're waiting. I'm going to show you how I like to cut cabbage. So this is a quarter of a cabbage, right? So put it this way, and then you've got the core right here. Just go in there and quarter it out like that. This is kind of a nasty piece on the outside, so we'll pull this off. And then we want to get a shred, so you go against the grain. Okay, so there we go. Just add it to the rest. All this will go in a minute or two. All right. So the turkey chili, I like to add the spices while the meat's still cooking. So this is cumin. You know, cumin is it's in all kinds of Mexican food and Southwestern food. It's great spice. You can use it fairly liberally. Then I can put some kind of a chili powder in. This is an ancho chili powder. There's lots of different kinds out in the market. That I'll put less in, right? Even though I do like things hot. You can always make it hotter later. Then I'm going to put some basil in, just a little bit, and some oregano. Everything's in alphabetical order there. So we get a little oregano. Stir that up a little bit. It's almost ready to have the meat added to it. Pardon me, the tomatoes and the beans added to it, as it were. This needs to cook harder. That needs to cook harder. All right. So, other things that we're going to add in later. I'll put in diced tomatoes into the minestrone soup, right? And crushed tomatoes, if you're not familiar with crushed tomatoes, it's a great product for a lot of cooking for tomato sauces and stuff. This will go into the chili, right? Which we're going to do in just a minute. Chili's ahead of everything else, so we're just about ready on that. I'm going to see how we're doing here. Oh, not quite ready. Got to wait a minute on that. So we can finish the chili. So I've got the beans back here that I've cooked. And it's just, there's not too much liquid, which is good. So we'll just add them right in. Beans go in. Maybe you get the heat up a little bit. All right. Get that hotter. And then, meanwhile, I'll get some of these crushed tomatoes in there. You know, it's funny, I cook with a lot of my students, and a lot of them don't know what this is. And I think it's because they've all grown up with electric can openers, but this is, in fact, a can opener. So to have a nice one on hand. All right, so I'm gonna go with about half of that crushed tomatoes. Again, do it as you like. And this is basically done. We're gonna add some salt. And a little while later we'll give it a taste. But that project is actually finished. So meanwhile, over here we're going to add some of our cabbage to the minestrone soup. All right, and the kale. Get this stirred up good. This will probably need another good 5 or 7 minutes of boil. See how that goes. Take a peek on our. Alright. So just spill a little on the crunchy side. So what we'll do is once this is cooking a little bit more, we're going to add milk to it. You might remember from another episode that I bought too much milk. When I was around scourging for everything and pounding it on like everybody else, freaked out. I got a lot of milk, so I've been using up the milk wherever I can. So milk, that's how this idea came about. This milk, and then we'll do corn, and we'll thicken it up with roux. You might remember the roux that we did in a previous lesson, and so that was left over, some of it. And I've taken it and I've warmed it up, and so it's a paste. It's a sort of pasty consistency. When it was first in the refrigerator, of course, it was like incredibly hard. So this is a very pasty consistency. this is what I'll use to actually thicken up the soup a little bit. So I'll leave that waiting for us there. See how Minestrone's doing. So other things that you can add to minestrone soup, beans, very common. Like me, we'll do that. And then pasta, also at the end, can be added as well, right? I'm going to open up my tomatoes for my minestrone soup. Those in there. Some heat on that. This is going too hard. We want to get that lower. This is cooking good now. All right. So the last thing to go into the chowder in terms of vegetables is corn, because it is corn chowder. So we're going to add some corn, which I happen to have in the freezer. So it's all about using stuff up, right? Get that mixed in pretty good. It's almost ready. This stirred. So while we're waiting for things to cook here, I'll say, you know, we're going to continue to do these cooking lessons online. If you have an idea of something you've always wanted to cook but don't know how, or a genre, you know, a type of food that you want to cook, let me know. You can leave it in the notes in the YouTube app, or you can email me at my account at Wabash, warnerri@wabash.edu, and you know, because I'm totally open to whatever people do. I've got some pretty exciting, you know, ones coming up. I'm going to be using some other people also, some friends of mine. So you know, we might as well be having some fun during all this mess, I think. So let's talk about some garnishes for these while we're waiting for them to cook. So this is really cool stuff. I don't think you can buy this in the store, at least you can't anywhere where I live. These are not chives. They look like chives, but they're not chives, point of fact. They actually are green garlic. I think some people call them skates, but it's the green that grows on top of the garlic after you plant it in the fall. And so this is a sign of spring for me when my green garlic comes up. I basically grow garlic because I like the greens. So this becomes a really nice. You can put it in eggs. There's lots of you know, things that you can add to it. I'll probably end up putting it on really any of these soups, but on the chowder I think it would work best. So you just mince it up, see how fine they're finer than chives, and there. Smell them. You smell them? Yeah, they smell just like garlic, don't they? Oh, I forgot you can't smell. Maybe future technology. OMG. I love that. That is so garlicky. Wow. Then I've got some Italian parsley that I have on hand. I think we'll probably put that as a garnish in the minestrone soup. So get that chopped up, mixed up a little bit. There we go. And then I've got, so I like to buy fresh herbs in the winter. The little thing like this is $2, but you know what? It brings my winter together. So I tend to have it on hand. So I had this on hand. So this is fresh oregano, but you know, soon I'll be growing it. Smell, really good. So it's very easy to grow these kinds of herbs. You should try it. So for this, you just take, it comes on a stem, you just peel it off the stem. This is a good rule of thumb for a lot of herbs, basically. Peel it down like this. And then you, once we got it peeled off, then we just mince it up. Get it off of there. And mince this up. So you get the garlic. So oregano. So one tip about herbs, especially if they're fresh, is not to put them in too early. right? But I think our minestrone soup is getting pretty close now. So everything is, which is good. I'm sure all this would work in half an hour, but so here we go. This is cooking up pretty good. I think we'll roux this up a little bit before I put the. You can do it either way, but I think I'll do it before I put the milk in. All right, so this is the roux. So if you weren't here last time, it's butter and flour. So you melt the butter and you cook the roux just a little bit. You want to keep it yellow unless you want to do New Orleans cuisine. By the way, New Orleans cuisine is something that's on tap. I'm going to do with a partner of mine. But so the roux has the function of thickening the soup. That's what it's used for. All right, and you got to let it cook for a few minutes for it to do this job. Otherwise, your soup will taste like flour. So here we'll put the oregano in. You go on that. And I'm going to grab a can of beans and put it in there. You could use kidney beans, you could use all kinds of beans. You know, again, minestrone is the great, flexible soup. You can put lots of different things in. Oh, this has a little fold. Even my students will be able to figure this out, right? So, opens up just like a can of beer. I'm going to drain this real quick. And put them right in. The other thing that typically gets put into minestrone soup is Parmesan cheese. So I'm going to add that. So I usually use fresh Parmesan, but I've had this stuff on hand for a while. Might as well use it up, right? It's all about using stuff up. You get the theme. So that's almost done. That's almost done. Last thing for the minestrone, because I am making it, and I've never done this before, put chicken in minestrone soup, but guess what? You can do it. You can put all kinds of different things in it. So like I said, I did have a chicken that needed to be used up, which is where we got that stock from. So I cooked off the chicken. Tune in to our stock video coming up soon. So I pulled the meat off the bone. I'm just going to dice it up here. Obviously, this doesn't need to cook very long. It's already been cooked. So it goes in at the very end. It just needs to cook long enough to get hot, which is like about a minute. So I'm going to put that in there. We're almost done, folks. Hang on. Hang on. Stay in control. And the soup needs to have some milk, so this is getting rid of my milk here. That's the chowder. Get that a little bit milky. Get that going. Go back to the minestrone soup. Give that a stir. And this one's needs a little salt. Probably some black pepper. Got the oregano in. I think we'll put some dried basil in there also. So that one's seasoned, ready to go. Let's stir that up. All right, here we go. Now, the last seasoning for this, you're going to need a little bit of salt. So I tend to not use very much salt, so you use your own judgment. And then to make it Southwestern, we're going to put a good amount of cumin in here. Okay. Stir that up, buttercup. All right. Definitely cooking with gas heat on that. I'm going to bring that up to a boil a little bit. Now I think we're gonna suit up here. So, get some of these if you don't have them. I know they're hard to find, but I've been sanitizing like crazy. So doorknobs, everything you touch, your face, keep sanitizing because we want to be well out there. I know they can be difficult to find because there's a run on them, but so let's roll up our soups here. First I'll do the chili. This isn't very Mexican, but I like to use like to use white cheddar cheese in my chili. I think you find it tastes pretty good. Chili's done. And we're gonna get our minestrone off. Look at the color on that puppy. Yeah. Get that going. Remember, that's going to get the garnish of the Italian parsley. There we go. Then, last but not least, we got our Southwestern corn chowder. That one didn't get cut too well. Okay, look at the color on that too, huh? And so that we decided we were going to serve with the garlic grains. Oh yeah, I'm talking about. Bon appetit! It's been a fun half hour with you. Looking forward to joining you again. And thanks a lot for hanging with us here on the channel. Be well, be safe, and eat well. Take care.